The days turned into weeks, the weeks into months, and the months into years, yet still, she waited. Through every season, every storm, and every ray of sunshine, there was one unwavering figure, a loyal dog, sitting by the same spot, eyes always gazing down the same road. 7 long years had passed, but hope refused to leave her heart. Love, it seemed, could survive anything, even the passage of time. The town of Glenwood was known for its quaint cottages, winding lanes, and towering oak trees. It was a peaceful place, where life unfolded at a gentle pace. But among all the houses, the little one at the edge of town stood out, not because of its size nor its decoration, but because of a dog who called it home. Her name was Bella, a golden retriever with fur that glowed like sun-kissed wheat and eyes that held the wisdom of 1,000 lifetimes. Bella was more than a pet. She was family. She had been adopted by Lucy when she was just a pup, and from the moment they met, it was clear that their bond was unbreakable. Lucy had been a young woman then, full of dreams and ambitions. She had just moved to Glenwood after college, ready to begin her life as a writer. Her small cottage was filled with books, notebooks, and the scent of freshly brewed coffee, the perfect place for a woman who had her whole future ahead of her. And then came Bella. The little puppy had been abandoned on the side of the road, hungry and shivering, when Lucy found her. She had been a mess, her fur matted, her ribs showing through her thin body. But in Bella's eyes, Lucy saw something fierce, something full of love and trust, despite all she had endured. She couldn't bear the thought of leaving her alone. From that day forward, they were inseparable. Lucy wrote at her desk, Bella lying at her feet. They went on long walks in the woods, explored the river that ran near the town, and spent lazy afternoons in the sun, talking about everything and nothing. Lucy's life, once lonely and filled with uncertainty, had found its meaning in Bella's company. The dog was her anchor, her safe place in a world that often felt too big. But fate, as it always does, has a way of testing even the strongest bonds. One bright autumn morning, Lucy received a phone call that would change her life forever. Her brother, Evan, who had been serving in the army overseas, was coming home. He had been deployed for several years, and Lucy had been eagerly awaiting his return. They had grown up close, and his absence had left a hole in her heart. "I'm coming home, Luce. I'll be there soon," Evan's voice had said through the phone. Lucy's heart had skipped a beat. Bella had sensed her excitement. The dog's tail wagged furiously as Lucy packed her bag, preparing to drive to the airport. The reunion was going to be emotional. She knew it. She couldn't wait to see Evan, to hold him again after all these years. But the road to the airport, as fate would have it, was longer than expected. As Lucy made her way toward the freeway, she was caught in an unexpected traffic jam. Minutes stretched into hours, and every second that passed seemed to chip away at her patience. She was running out of time. Desperation crept into her voice as she called Evan, telling him she was close but delayed. Evan had been understanding, reassuring her that he'd wait. And then, just as the traffic began to clear, disaster struck. A sudden and violent crash, a screeching of tires, and a blinding flash of light. In that moment, everything went dark. When Lucy awoke, she was in a hospital bed, her head pounding and her body bruised and broken. The doctors explained that the accident had been severe. She had been in a coma for weeks, and during that time, they had tried everything to stabilize her. But there was no word on Evan. The police said they were still trying to locate him. The details of the crash were unclear, and Lucy's world crumbled as she tried to make sense of it all. But in the midst of her pain, there was one thing she knew for sure. Bella had been by her side the entire time. The dog had not left her hospital room. Bella had refused to leave, even when nurses had tried to shoo her away, insisting she needed rest. Bella had sat loyally by Lucy's side, her eyes never leaving her. And when Lucy had awoken, groggy and confused, Bella had been the first to lick her face, tail wagging, as if to say, "I'm here. You're not alone." The months that followed were some of the darkest in Lucy's life. She never received word about Evan. The police had no answers. And slowly, hope began to slip away, leaving her hollow and empty inside. But Bella remained as steadfast as ever. She was a light in the darkness, the reminder that love could endure, even in the face of unimaginable loss. But Bella waited. Year after year, Bella continued to wait for the one person who had promised to come home. Every morning, she would sit by the window, looking out at the road, her eyes scanning for any sign of movement. It was as if she knew that, no matter how much time had passed, Evan would come back. She refused to believe anything else. And Lucy, in her grief, watched Bella's loyalty with awe and wonder. She had never seen a love so pure, so unwavering. It was as if the dog could sense the ache in her heart, and in a way, it was comforting. For every year that passed, Bella grew older, but her resolve never wavered. She waited for Evan. The seasons changed. The town of Glenwood flourished and fell into winter, then spring again. The trees grew taller. The flowers bloomed brighter. But through it all, there was Bella waiting. 7 years had gone by. 7 long years. Lucy had stopped looking at the road, stopped hoping for Evan's return, but Bella had not. There were moments when Lucy found herself wishing the same thing, praying for a miracle. And then one day it came. It was an afternoon like any other. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows on the ground. Bella was sitting by the window, her eyes locked on the road, as she had done every single day. Lucy sat on the couch, trying to read, but her mind was elsewhere. She had just about given in to the quiet ache in her chest when a sound came from outside. A car engine, a familiar one. Bella's ears perked up, and she leapt to her feet, her tail wagging furiously. Lucy froze. She stood, her heart racing, unsure of what was happening. She rushed to the window, her pulse quickening. And there, at the end of the lane, was a car pulling into the driveway. A man stepped out, tall and strong, his face familiar even after all these years. It was Evan. Lucy's knees gave way, and she sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. Bella was already at the door, barking excitedly, her tail wagging as if she had known all along. Evan walked up to the house, his eyes filled with 1,000 emotions. He had returned. He had come home. And through all the years of silence, the dog had never given up. With Bella leading the way, Evan opened the door. The dog rushed to him, jumping into his arms, licking his face as if to say, "I've waited for you." And Evan, overcome with emotion, held her close. Lucy stood in the doorway, still in shock, her heart beating wildly in her chest. Evan walked toward her, and in that moment, the pain of 7 years melted away. The siblings embraced, and Bella, now older but still full of life, stood beside them, her tail wagging with joy. Love, it seemed, had always been the answer. It had waited, it had endured, and in the end, it had brought them all home. In the years that followed, life slowly returned to normal. Evan's return was a miracle Lucy had never dared to believe in, and Bella's loyalty was a thread that had kept them all together. The dog had waited, and now they were whole again. And every day, when the sun set and the house grew quiet, Bella would sit by the window, content, knowing that her family was home. The wait had been long, but in the end, it had been worth it.